indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to remind everybody to silence your cell phones and that we are recording this and broadcasting it live for everybody whose Valentine's Day is as fun as ours. Let's see. All right, first item is a public hearing where we're amending one of our local laws to extend the 2-hour parking zone down Main Street a little bit farther, just to basically encompass the 4 spots in front of the public library. And the reason for that is folks are having a hard time parking at the public library during the day because there are a lot of people that park all day there. So that's the purpose of this law. Already 2-hour parking, but we don't enforce it, and we have an agreement with the business association and the merchants there that they'll sort of self-police that, which they do. So, let's please.
Be it enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer as follows. The Village of Homer Code Section 210-51 is hereby amended by this local law to add these provisions as follows. Section 1. Amending the 2-hour parking along the east side of Main Street, Route 11. Section Main Street, Route 11, East 2-hour parking section is hereby amended to read as follows. Name of street, Main Street, Route 11. Side, east. Time limit, hours, days. 2 hours, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., all except Sunday and holidays. Location, from 226 feet south of Pine Street to 130 feet south of Wall Street. Besides the above amendment, all other section and paragraphs remain unchanged. Section 2, separability. If any part of the provision of this local law or the application thereof to any person or circumstance be adjudged invalid by any court of competent jurisdiction, such judgment shall be confined in its operation to the part or provision or application directly involved in the controversy in which such judgment shall have been rendered, and shall not affect or impair the validity of the remainder of this local law or the application thereof to other persons or circumstances. And the Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer hereby declares that it would have passed this local law or the remainder thereof had such invalid application or invalid provision been apparent. Section 3, effective date. This local law shall take effect immediately upon filing in the office of the New York State Secretary of State in accordance with the section of 27 of the Municipal Home Rule Law.
Beautiful. Anyone care to speak on this?
Is there some way we can place a couple signs to let them know this is coming? Temporary? Maybe Mike?
Probably. I mean, we could always put the signs up and then put paper over them with the,
The effective date.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Just something to give them a little bit more heads up.
Yeah.
I know we've published it, I know we've talked about it.
Right, but that's probably a good idea. So when he installs the signs, we'll just have him duct tape on some cardboard or something, and
Coming soon.
yes,
Very soon.
that's a good point.
The effective date will be when we file it with the Secretary of State, so it's, we're gonna have a date, but
When are we gonna file with the Secretary of State?
after this meeting, get a certified copy. It's basically.
You're driving it out there tonight?
No.
Okay,
Costs a couple weeks probably.
okay, yeah, just let me know, and then we'll tell Mike to put the signs up.
Yeah, work with them.
Thank you. Any other comments? None?
Make a motion to go ahead and pass that?
No, I think we do need to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the law as written.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. That's done. And now we'll start the board meeting proper. First item up is to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. We're trying to speed this one along because usually I'm only in trouble with my own wife, but now I'm in trouble with everybody's wife. So having a meeting on Valentine's Day. I heard it from a lot of you guys, so.
You guys didn't
Okay.
pick this one very well, did you?
All right, next item is the treasurer's report, which is very extensive this month, which is fantastic. A lot to digest. So,
I'm taking on my trip.
yeah, there's a lot to look through here, and we'll probably need some clarification on what some of these funds are in general. So this is great for us to take a look at.
Don should be here by exec session, we can talk some more.
Perfect. Alrighty, authorization of the payment of bills.
I'll make the motion to accept the, to authorize the payment of bills.
A second.
Discussion?
I had a
Oh,
couple quick questions,
all right, let's do it.
one of them was, we paid the SPCA, I think around $100 for the animal control. What was that?
192.
192.
200.
So that, was them not understanding that I had not signed the contract with them yet. Because in our contract that we discussed, we agreed that they would only be deployed if they were sent by someone from the village office or someone from the police department. They weren't, and they actually, I guess, wouldn't tell us who sent them out there.
Okay, just curious. I mean,
right.
That explains it.
But Pat did speak with them.
We got that clarified, so
Super.
in future, anybody, if you have an issue with animals, call the village office or the Homer Police Department. If it is beyond the normal duties of our dog catcher or anything that we can't handle, then either the HPD or the village office will call on the SPCA to handle the rest. So,
And just one other minor one, it's not that big a deal, but I saw it's to the What's Hot magazine.
Yes.
I was under the impression that was to be paid by HBA. But
So,
the village paid it.
we
I mean, I don't really care, I was just curious.
We split it up. The HBA is doing here. We would jump in for 1 month and then do an editorial for 1 month, and so we're gonna use that to promote our rec programs. So Zach is working on that. I'm doing the ad and the editorial, which will.
I know that they've done the yearly thing and split it up, I just didn't know we were part of it. Okay, it's okay.
It'll be in March and May.
Beautiful. Any other discussion on the paying of the bills? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. All right. Pretty standard.
Glad to see the activity on James Street got fixed and taken care of.
Which activity is that?
That house
oh yeah.
without the,
Oh, yes. We had a good meeting.
all the executives got together.
We,
That's the way it should be done.
we sorted it out.
Around the table, you get to talk about it, you solve it.
And thanks to Kevin McMahon from the town code office who came in and supported on that.
I'll make the motion to accept.
If anybody out there, I think we have a couple positions that are coming in. So I'm out there. If anybody is interested in either of those positions, please contact the mayor or the village office.
I have one interested party already, so that'll
It's
be good.
important that to have that done. It keeps the look of our village proper.
Keeps
Exactly.
things moving.
Keeps things
It
moving.
does.
Yeah. It's an important job.
Motion to accept the codes report.
I'll make it.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
DPW. Obviously a lot of snow plowing, they're getting ready for the tree planting in April.
I was gonna say about the tree. We could try to get that during Arbor,
Yes,
and then if
That's the
anything,
plan,
we can
yeah.
get some other people out there that wanna help.
that's the plan. I need to get the tree committee together right away. They know who they are, just haven't brought them together yet.
Nothing to do with this part here, but has anybody ever asked Mike if they've been monitoring Syracuse haulers before and after pickup?
I know that he's checked on them a couple times, yeah, although, no, yeah. Cause really it's a matter of just checking before or after is not that.
Yeah. Or before.
If they wanna drive
I've
our
been
trash
up-
back to Syracuse, that's fine, we
Yeah.
don't
No,
pay
no,
for
we
it.
can't because of the Cortland law.
Yeah,
I've been monitoring
And we're doing okay
the
with that.
dumping tonnage since August, and I actually write it down because I'm kinda interested in that, and it's been right on
Right on point.
average, so,
by the way,
or less even.
spoke with some mayors on Monday about that do their own municipal trash collection.
That's the way to go.
They're in. They said it's
I think
fantastic.
60K a year we can save.
Seneca, Waterloo does their own trash collection, and that mayor says it absolutely works great.
And you could save more if we can find garbage cans cheaper than what I used in my estimate, which was $65 a piece.
And I think he said Seneca Falls. They not only do their own, but they do it with the truck with the arm, so they just have one person.
Yeah, you didn't like that.
I wasn't sure it was gonna work, and I asked him, I said, how do they do it in the snow? And he said there was a bit of a learning curve for residents to understand that they needed to shovel out the spot. The cannon needed to be in the same place, oriented the same way,
Right.
but after that, it's been
How did
fine.
they ever get that accomplished?
I know, that seems like a lift, but,
Well, we have 2 years to work on it.
yeah, we'll talk about it, but we did talk about, I think he said they're gonna get, he thinks probably 15 to 17 years out of their truck.
Well, that's standard out of New York City for 17 years, and they use their
Yep.
trucks 7 days a week, more or less, and
Yeah.
they use them as snowplows.
That's pretty
So if we
good.
only use them 2 days a week,
Yeah.
you could
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
get, well, you wanna change it, cause it'll get ratty looking, and it'll have some residual value, cause it won't have a lot of miles on it. So it'll turn out pretty well, I believe.
I really do
But that's
believe
2 years from now.
that it will be a way to save the village quite a bit of money. Let's see. Yeah, he says right here, trash truck inspection awaits in progress.
Oh, okay, cool.
Get some snow removal help for the school. And lots of problems with streetlight outages. We'll talk more about the LED lighting stuff later because I learned a tremendous amount Monday as well.
I see Mike has already got he's got some ideas for street paving, I think that's gonna come up, but we'll discuss that later.
Right. All right.
I make a motion to accept the DPW report.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? And the dog report.
Don't have a dog report, but we have the SPCA report.
Oh, this is the SPCA, okay.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, according to this, which makes me inclined to definitely, this was an abuse case that they came in and took the animal away, so that's, I'm glad that they did that. I'm very glad they did that. All right, fire department.
Make a motion to accept the SPCA report, as is,
In place of dogs.
in place of dogs.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Fire report. Melanie, you want us to read, or do you wanna do your thing?
No, I guess the biggest thing is that we had 3 events while I was in Florida on vacation, and the folks did a good job of that. The 3 grants that we applied for have been submitted. We just gotta wait and hear from that. I have here, and I'll give you a copy of this, but we talked about a quote for the exhaust extraction system, which I got from a company called Plymavent. I asked for another company to come talk with us. They I never heard from them in terms of actually coming to see. The nice thing is that they will allow us to buy it or lease it. The initial cost is $106,800. And I'll give you these figures, but the lease, it looks like we have to pay the first payment when we sign a contract if we do that. And then there's nothing for at least 1 year, maybe 2. The total cost of the lease payments that I see is $145,437. But at the end of the lease, after 8 years, we own it for $1. And I've got a number of different articles that I'm gonna try to email the links to you folks in terms of the diesel exhaust and what's in it and that kind of thing. So if that's something that we can look at, you know, and it might give us a year or so to budget for the numbers, so I'll give you that.
On that, any idea
Yes,
how
sir.
long that system lasts for before it needs to be replaced?
I can't see anything other than maintenance. If maintenance is done, that there'd be any replacement. We have a different there's a different manufacturer in Ithaca, and that was put in, I'll bet you 20 years or so ago, and it's still there. Cortlandville, when they built their station, put this system in, and it's still there, and they haven't had any significant issues with it, so it would be, to me, a long-lasting.
Okay.
The thing that I like about this company as compared to the other one, which is what was installed in Ithaca, they seem to be more responsive in terms of maintenance, parts, if you have them, just normal things to keep it functioning
Right.
than the other company. And they've made some improvements since what Cortlandville's put in, so if we wanted to go take a look at what Cortlandville's got, it's in both of their stations, we could look at that.
Okay.
It's a capture system, which is a nice thing, that there's a tube that comes down from the ceiling, goes onto the exhaust pipe, and
Right.
it's right there, so there's no issue with a fan trying to get it in the ceiling, but we can, talk about all that. Pat was with me last week, we met with the town of Homer and the Homer Fire District. They have to have a joint public hearing in terms of the contract. That went through, they did that, it's a 1-year contract, all the numbers and that are fine. I made some errors in typing the contract up with some dates, which they fixed. So that's good to go, and if you haven't already, I think the money was right there. They had the check that night to go to the fire district, and then the fire district has to obviously pay the village. So that should be. The only other thing I got is, we've never done this before, and obviously the weather's changed, but, we had over 60 man-hours and several, probably 7 or 8 different firefighters, working to do the ice on the green when the weather was conducive to making ice. And we've never really kept track of that. So it's, I think it's a lot of time that these guys put through, and sometimes it was like 24 hours. Not all the same people, but
Right.
they spent a lot of time, doing that. So.
How many people do you have on that, Neil?
I have the list at home. There was probably 6 or 7 different folks at various times that logged their time in, when they were going. Some of them were doing it during the daytime, others were doing it at, late hours, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, for an hour or so, at a time, not straight, but they go for a half an hour, 45 minutes, take a break, 15 minutes later, they go back out, do another hour, so. And we've never really kept track of that before, so that was kinda interesting, just to let you guys know how much time is spent by our guys, volunteering, making
Greatly
ice.
appreciated.
Absolutely.
And I told them that, and I said, just keep track of the time, I don't think we've ever done that. Well, let you guys know, what they're spending. Some people are, wow, what do you guys do other than, sometimes sit around the fire station and, hear something that we spent, I would say, considerable amount of time by 6, 7 people, giving up their late nights, overnights, and that sort of thing to actually make the ice. And it's not been conducive lately to obviously continue that, but
Right.
they were doing that, so. I don't know if you have any questions. I think Tim had a couple of things maybe that he talked to you, Pat. Key fobs, I don't know if that's something you need to talk about, or, okay. The only other thing that I, will just mention, again, Pat and I were at the town board meeting, and they're talking about, work on the Wall Street and Pine Street bridges. We sat through that. One of the things that they want us to do, and I agreed with Pat, I would get with him, when I've got the time to do that, and travel the, alternate routes that we would have to do if something happened and we did not have any bridge access, either Albany Street or any of the others, to either go north to, Health Camp and around that way, over 81 and that route, or down through the city and back, depending on what trucks and how we had to do that, because they're applying for some grants, to make Wall Street a bigger two-lane bridge that would carry the pumpers. It wouldn't carry the ladder truck, and on that, I'm not concerned about. That's more than twice the weight of any of the pumpers. If we can get the pumpers and a little truck over there, we're happy. So we're looking at doing that to supplement their information as far as the grant request, to be able to get funds to replace or work on those two bridges at least, cause that would be a significant delay in, other than a mini truck being able to get across Pine Street. We can't take anything else across any of these other bridges.
Right.
So if they can, get work to do that, cause if something happened to Albany Street and they had to take that out to repair it, we're screwed. We don't have any other way other than the longer routes to get around there.
Right.
So we're gonna look at timing that, giving the mileage, and know what the difference is between, a direct route versus alternate routes, so.
Very good.
Unless somebody's got something else, I'll give you the, yes, sir.
You have to remind me, at some point we have to have a discussion about the new construction at the pit and the 3 stories and the new code that they have.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about,
I understand that you can go before the board, the fire board, and ask for a waiver on that.
I think the issue that you're talking about is the electric lines.
Yep.
Yes. And the fire department for years has been, and it's a costly venture, I understand that, but it did, that fire actually, inhibited us in some of our activities to be able to place ladder trucks because of the power, but the new, code in New York State is that if you're building new construction, and the reason I found out about this is my connection with Ithaca, and it stopped construction on
Yeah.
some high-rise buildings over there because the power lines were in front of the buildings.
Yeah.
And there's a certain limit to the height of the building, otherwise the power lines have to be underground.
Problem is Ithaca, they laid over, the map of all the places where that exists with all the construction they have, and it's 90%
Yeah.
of the city. You couldn't build a building over 3 stories
Yep,
anymore.
that's
So-
part of the issue, I understand that. It certainly would be better for us if, to be honest with you, if all of that was underground on Main Street, I think
Well,
for a
sure.
number of reasons. But, yeah, obviously it costs, if there's something that we can do, I'm not saying that I wouldn't be, interested in working with them, but obviously that's a concern of ours with that new code to say, hey, is there something that we can do to minimize that exposure for that wires? That was a big deal because almost all the ladder trucks had to end up being out in the back side of that, which,
Maybe a grant or something to do all of Main Street would be kinda nice.
I mean, just the,
Improve the look.
well,
Because
that
of
it
our
helps,
village.
if
We
we
gotta
could
look
go
into that. I don't know how
from,
to
yeah,
do that.
from like the bank
Yeah,
to,
town hall or,
well, this isn't so bad because a number of them other than this building are set back enough, but, to, Wall Street, from Homer Hardware, that, the big Main Street part, if that could be underground, that would be a big help to us.
we gotta work on
For a
that.
number of reasons.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, good.
I don't wanna stop somebody from building something through that, but whatever we can do to try to minimize that would be great as far as we're concerned.
We can get a grant to do that.
Well, we'll have to talk more, cause that'll, yeah, we'll have to talk more about that.
Yes, yep, I'm all in
Alright.
favor of that. So let me give you the stuff that I've got on this, there's one of the things that I've gotta do is I've gotta call the salesman and find out exactly, how this works, cause it's a payments of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, first payment due at signing. And if that means we've gotta come up with 37.7 as the first payment, we might be able to budget for that, and then it looks like there's nothing for maybe 2 years to be able to budget in, and then obviously as the payments go along, they're less and less. So
Okay.
that's the only piece of information that I don't have at this point, and, like I said, I'm gonna try to email you some links
Okay.
of, you know, what diesel exhaust does to firefighters and that kind of thing, and
Okay.
feel free to make more copies, or I can get you more for that, so.
Yeah, we'll get it around to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So until you get the applications, I think we're good, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
You know, I just wanted to pass
Yes,
along
sir.
that, I received quite a few compliments on the response of the fire department to those structure fires. So please pass that along to all that were involved.
I will, but what's nice is if somebody can type something up and I can actually take and post at the fire station. They hear a lot from me, but something in writing
Goes a lot further.
We have a volunteer right here.
goes a long ways. We'll absolutely do that. And the mutual aid fire departments, a couple of them I've thanked personally, but, they all worked out well. So, very good.
Good.
I make a motion to accept the fire report as written.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Police. Chief, you wanna, just run down, or you want me to just go through it?
Go through it and if there's questions.
Chief, are the officers trained up on the camera, the car cams now?
I'm gonna be doing some in-service with the installer. Well, with the sergeant myself, will get a hold of the installer, but our plans are in service with it, so they know how to, minimal operations with it, the officers, then the sergeant and I will more
Okay.
familiar with it. We got some in-service training coming up, and as well as I gave them an assignment through McNeil Company to do their PESH training, so.
How long was Officer Nino full-time?
He's right around 3 years.
No, we still got him part-time, so that's
Yeah.
pretty good, I guess. Okay, great. I'm sorry I missed the award ceremony.
Yeah, I mean,
It was great.
I didn't come in and check my thing, so I was home, I could've made it, I'm feeling really bad, cause that's usually a good thing to attend, so I apologize.
Chief Pittman got his 25-year.
Yeah, I know all the good stuff and I missed it, so I'm really sorry.
The other thing that and there's always a lot of good stuff in his report, but that I wanna highlight from here is the work that Chief Pittman has done on changing the law is not arson. So, with the fire that we had on Main Street, even though it was not an intentionally started fire, because of the way it came about, this law would make that an arson charge, correct, Chief?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's, so Senator Seward has got it before the Senate, I believe it's going to the Senate floor to amend the arson statute to incorporate manufacturing meth or any other controlled substance. So so once the law is changed, if we had a similar fire, it would actually be an arson.
That's fantastic. I'm really,
Thank you again.
that is some great initiative on your part to do that, by the way. I'll say, all right, and I see Senator DeFrancisco co-sponsored. That's good. Did he give you a feel? I think it'll probably go through.
I think it will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great.
That's really great initiative.
Yep.
Any
I
other
recommend that, we accept it as written.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Alright, recreation. Zach, you want us to read, or you wanna?
I usually read it, so why don't you guys go for it this time?
Okay. Alright,
I like questions.
sure. Alright, so I'll go through it real fast. Looking for 2 more bands for the summer concert series. Right now we've got the Cortland Old Timers Band, Molly and the Badly Bent Bluegrass Band, Ageless Jazz Band, Travis Rocco, the Hilltoppers, and Chris Merkley. So I think that's a great lineup so far.
Incredible lineup.
It's gonna be great.
Arts and crafts still going on, which is great. That's Village Walking and Running Trails designation. That's a really good idea too.
I'll give my girlfriend credit for that one. but
Yeah?
I'll do all the work. So.
Okay. Which would be to designate some of these areas as walking and running trails, and then be able to provide a map to people at
Yep.
outside the rec office. That's
If you've
a really
ever
good
been
idea.
to like Lamb Hollow, they've got the visitor center, the big map of all their trails.
Right.
We can do something pretty simple like that.
That's a
where,
great idea.
You know, designate miles, you know, walking, running, or even historic tours. If Mr. Sweeney there wants to get in on that, on the flip side of that board, we could do the. Because does he or does somebody else do historic tours in the
The
village?
Landmark Society
They-
does them.
There's a
Okay.
couple that do, Martin's one of them, and Captain
Right.
Beardsley's another one that does.
Getting ready for the Easter egg hunt. That's good.
Skiing's good, I imagine, right now.
Yesterday was good. I think actually a bunch of the kids were interviewed by a few news stations. I didn't get to watch it, but we'll see. I don't know what's the weather supposed to be like for this Friday. Is it still gonna stay warm, or is it gonna?
It's supposed to snow.
It is. Okay, well, that's
Or,
good.
I believe maybe not till later.
Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
so might miss Friday. Football helmets are an interesting issue. I just looked at the manufacture dates on them. They're from 2009, and after 10 years, companies don't refurbish them anymore.
Okay.
And so I looked into a real quick price of new helmets, and it's about 15 grand base. So it could come out to 18 or so. Yeah.
Okay.
Big cost, though. That's something to look into.
Glad we have a rec equipment reserve fund.
Yeah.
We might have to tap into that a little bit.
It's not on this, but could you touch on the concession at Kalale possibility?
In terms of the
I just read something in one of the previous ones that something about putting a sliding window in
Yes.
for Kalale.
so Kevin from DPW is working with Builders Best. I think it's supposed to come in either a couple weeks or sometime this month. They're going to replace the window, and they're also going to get a screen door, which is part of code to bring the building up to code. So that way they can leave the door open and bugs don't go in. And the window replaces some cracks in the old window where bugs could get in, or rodents, whatever.
Right.
So I believe that's what those two things address. And I also actually spoke with Kevin today about the netting, the foul ball netting. We actually have enough netting, or should have enough netting to do most of the not upkeep, but the basic stuff. But we need to talk more about doing the like dome netting over the
Right.
concessions and whatnot. There's a little bit of pushback on that, but I think we should continue forward with it. So.
Oh, the netting. Okay.
Somebody gets beamed, it's not good.
Yeah.
Only other one more little comment. As far as the walking goes for the junior high school, maybe if there's some way to promote that a little bit more. I was speaking to a friend of mine at one of our kids' practices, and they were unaware that you could do that.
Okay.
And she was greatly appreciated to find out because she wants to tell her parents to be able to go. over that.
Definitely.
So,
Maybe that's something I'll throw in the March flyer for
be a good idea.
send out to the schools.
And every 2 weeks going forward in the Homer News, rec will have a quarter of a page where they're going to do something, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Good
You
answer.
are.
Yeah, good answer, right.
Make a motion to accept the, report as read.
Second?
All discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Water and sewer. Start with the easy stuff first. Buzz, you wanna talk about it, or you want me to go through it?
You can go ahead and go through it.
Okay.
Any questions?
We got, we had 4 frozen water meters, or 3 frozen water meters, frozen water lines, water main breaks.
Yeah, we're still chasing them.
What? That you're still
Still
chasing,
chasing
yeah.
And Buzz, you were saying that, possibly doing, some work on Cayuga on Monday?
Yes. I didn't realize though, of course, my daughter, she works at Homer Schools. I guess it's closed all that week, school's
Yeah.
closed all week.
Yep.
So, well, you know, it is a holiday for us, but I thought we'd do the Monday and then just take Friday off, get it done, get it over with.
Is this that property on Cuba that was having the problems?
Yeah. We're trying to do our part where we
Fix
know we
our
have it right, and then see what happens next.
Okay.
It's kind of a situation that I think that line runs on the other guy's property next to him, but, so if he's got a leak past where we fix it, then,
Yeah, that's the homeowner's responsibility.
yeah.
Alright, I guess we'll wait on the billing thing until we get to it in the agenda. I have it under new business, so.
And then, Buzz, did you guys start handing out flyers for, the water meters?
We did.
Okay.
And actually, we're getting pretty good response, just with the
Okay.
flyers.
We got one negative response earlier today, but I think that's because they weren't aware of what was going on.
Well, we're putting it on the website,
Okay.
so really good on there. I mean, there's no other good way to get in the, unless you go door to door and put some things on there.
No, I think they're just frustrated because, you know, this has been dragging on and we're finally stepping in. I know you guys are gonna get this fixed right. So I think they're just showing some exasperation with what's been going on.
So we can touch on that, I guess, which is the water meter replacement project that we've been working on with the city through that grant funding. First vendor that we had to do the replacement flaked out.
Yeah.
The second vendor seemed like they were gonna be fantastic, right? Cause their organization and communication was good up front, and then when it got down to the nuts and bolts of it, they weren't great, and they refused to work on any of the galvanized.
Galvanized.
So, which is probably about half of what we had to do.
It's pretty much the whole village.
So, since they wouldn't work on it, there was a lot of back and forth confusion, and I did reach out to the city and say, look, we have the capability of doing this in-house, or can we do it and then save the money that we would have been paying a firm like this? And he said, absolutely, so we're gonna undertake it.
So can we use that, what we saved towards more meters?
Towards
directly?
additional meters, yeah. So it's just, works out better, it saves the village money, saves taxpayers money, and they're gonna get a better level of service
Yep.
since it's our folks that are gonna replace it versus an outside contractor. But the downside is, that was one of the, we'll just go right into it, that was one of the things that contributed to some of the late meter reads that we had in the village, that, and we had some water main breaks, which were all hands on deck
Yep.
situations. And so some of the meters got read late, and so when the bill went out, some people's bills weren't for the 3 months, they were for 4 months, and so quite a bit more. I was one of those people. I looked at my bill and I said, whoa, it's a lot more.
That's what I said, I figured it out.
Right, but the next bill will be less, a lot less.
And a lot of people are saying about the dates on it too. The date was not correct on it.
Right, the date is not correct
It's not
because of the
correct.
way the software is through the manufacturer. We didn't have the ability to adjust that on the
Adjust
fly.
it. It's saying that it's a three-month bill, but it's not a 3 month.
Right, it's a 4 month bill, even though it says it's a 3 month. And so I know there's confusion on that. We're trying to get the word out as many places as possible so that people who have this issue where their bill is more, next cycle will be less. If it's turns into a hardship that, you know, you're on a fixed income and this completely blows your budget, please come work with the village, because we can make arrangements for partial payments, and then, you know, basically you pay what you normally paid, and then when your next bill came out, it would be, you know, we would make
More
sure that it
even.
was the same.
Yep.
Right. So we can help folks with that problem. Does that capture it, Buzz?
Yep.
Did you mention anything in your thing about the light at the fire station?
That would be next.
Well, I'll hop on it right now.
Uh-oh.
Yep, he said it'd be next month's report, cause they just did it, but, this is twice for sure, maybe the third time. There's a water line that goes from the west side of Main Street, across Main, under the addition of the fire station to the hydrant out back, and then to the Brewster House. There's been at least 2 leaks, maybe 3, fortunately, in front of the fire station. Whatever we need to do, we need to look at moving that line and cutting it off so that it can be moved over and down the side of the fire station, because at this point, if it breaks underneath the building,
Right.
I don't know what you're gonna do, we're
That's-
And we,
That's in play, as far as I understand.
well,
We settled for doing that this year.
yeah,
Understand?
yeah, we budgeted for that this year.
Okay,
And when we did the repaving of that, we specifically did not pave certain sections, right, Buzz, that you wanted them to leave, so they wouldn't have to pave it a second time?
outstanding, cause that needs to be.
Yeah.
I tried to get them to move that line when the addition was built, and they didn't want anything to do with it, I go, are you crazy? What are you thinking,
Yeah.
you're gonna put a, I don't know, was it 6-inch
It's
line?
4-inch line.
4-inch
there.
line that goes underneath there?
Yeah. No, we budgeted for it.
Okay.
For next year. Yes, sir.
You, yeah, cause they were just fixing it the other day, and,
Yeah, there's time to stop Band-Aiding. It's gonna
Yes.
cost us much more in the long run to Band-Aid it like that. And then, of course,
yeah,
catastrophe.
if it goes underneath the building,
Yeah,
then you're gonna have to move it, cause
Right.
there's no way you can dig inside there and
right.
do that.
Well, there is.
Well, yeah, there
You
is.
wouldn't- you wouldn't
but
like it.
No, yeah, we couldn't absorb that
Cross
for
that.
that. Okay, sorry.
Anything else for water and sewer?
I'm good. I'll make a motion that we accept.
A second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous? Okay. That's that, and you guys can go unless you,
Just need Buzz to stick around because I
Oh,
think he's
yep.
gonna be involved with
Okay.
possibly the next one.
okay.
Sorry, Buzz.
The 2 chiefs can leave if they want then. They don't have to. You don't have
Yeah,
to.
I know you do.
We're not
I'm not
kidding.
throwing you out.
Move outside with, he wants to talk to me for something.
Oh,
Did we, just automatically, okay the 2 firemen?
yeah.
We just did that when we said aye?
No, we didn't.
No, those are
Private
separate, that's
business.
just gonna
Okay.
make
It's
sure
under new
that we're
business.
Oh, okay.
good with that.
You want us to wait?
Oh, you are correct. It is new
Uh,
business.
Yeah.
Is there any questions or any issue? Cause I will go talk to the police chief here.
There is no, I reviewed these, they look fine to me.
They look great.
I don't see any issues.
Yeah,
Okay, if you think that's gonna be a
That'll be
problem,
an easy
then
one, yeah.
I'll go talk with him and we'll take
Okay.
care of that. One thing I have for Dan though, and I'm not sure if any of this got passed along as the things with the village changed, we used to get, someplace on the computer, there is a certificate of membership
oh, okay.
that is printed with the individual's name and signed by the mayor and the village seal. Do you have any idea, Dan, on where that might be or what that is?
I have some thoughts where it might be, yes.
Okay. If we can find that, because I don't think we've had any in a while, and it
Okay.
just dawned on me and Tim today that,
Sure.
whoops.
If you give me a list of names, email me a list of names. That
Oh
would be.
boy, well, that may be tough, but we'll try.
Oh, I think you can probably, it's probably, I remember signing some in the summer, so I think we've only approved maybe 4 or 5
I was
people
gonna say 4, 5, 6.
other than these.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll
not a
get
lot.
with Tim and try to figure out who may or may not have had done, cause I don't remember right off the bat as the chief handing any to the
We can even put a
members, so.
flyer in the station, we could, and say, you know.
If you've
you-
been,
if
Did you get
if
anything that looks
Yeah,
like?
and if you
this?
had, if you
And
got
I'll
one
try
and
to
lost
ask
it and you
people
want
too.
another one, we'll give you another one.
Yeah, as long as we can go back, cause then through the minutes, it should show which date that you guys approved them, cause that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of important to us, plus that's when their insurance starts and all that sort of thing.
It will in a minute, yeah.
So, okay, alright, yeah, if we can cover that, that would be good.
Okay.
It just dawned on us that
Yeah,
we hadn't seen any and I'm thinking, yeah, probably, you know, with transfer and the movement of people and village office changing. So,
We shall do it.
okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Privilege of the floor.
Okay. And this
Step
has
right
to
up.
do with the water and sewer.
That's why we got our water man right here.
Yes, and I've come to ask forgiveness because it is a hardship for me being on a fixed income. And I'd like $75 taken off my $174.75 bill. I was one of the residents on the Brentwood Drive that, one of three that was in a situation 2 years ago when the main froze up and then we were without water for 3 days. And I knew the conditions were gonna be similar this winter because we haven't had enough snowfall. We've got new plows that really clean the snow off the road. And so I put my faucet in the basement on a pencil stream the middle of December and then shut it off February 6th. And so that probably had added to my water bill. I just tried to keep the main from freezing again, so we didn't have that problem and be without water for 3 days and have to have it shocked and then be July 4th. And we've never, ever had our street fully paved. It's always been oil and stone, and I think that's only been 2 times since I've been on the street. I don't know if there's a way, I know in Cortland, when they had the freeze up the same year, 2 years ago, on Yonge Street, they dug the pipes up and they put them 6 feet down. And they repaved the whole street on Yonge Street. And I asked one of my former customers, because I sold real estate, and he said he had absolutely no problem this year with any freeze up. So I don't know if that's a possibility if you're thinking about paving this street, but that's what I
That
have to
is
say.
something we'll have to.
Yeah, the biggest thing with that is it's a dead end.
I understand.
There's just not enough water moving through to keep that from freezing. And, I don't know, I mean, deeper you go, the better it is, but if you have a problem, it's a lot more expensive to maintain it, because that makes everybody's services deeper and.
Well, I kept it, I was one of the homeowners that kept it from freezing up this year. So that's probably why my water bill is higher this year. But I had called my other 2 neighbors, Al Van Donzel and John Badon, and asked them to do the same. I don't know if they did, and I mentioned to John that I was coming to this meeting tonight. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. And so you're asking for $75 forgiveness on your bill?
Yes, that's what I'm asking, that I'll pay the $99 that I normally
That you
pay.
normally pay?
Yep.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
Just because this is the 4 months one.
Were you think it's 75 higher because it's the 4-month one?
Well, no, I think that's part of it.
Right.
So reduce a third for that extra month, because everybody else has got that extra month in there. So maybe 50.
Well, I'll pay the 99 now, when this is due the end of the month, and then, or,
And then pay
It's
99 next time, and whatever
yeah,
is over, we'll
Yeah.
forgive.
Yeah.
How's that?
Okay.
I agree.
I
You sure
appreciate
it's
it.
not because it's an extended billing period?
Well, what I'm
just solved
saying
it.
is,
Check the use.
what I'm
solved
saying
it.
is she'll pay the same amount that she normally pays this time, the same amount next time, and whatever's over, we'll forgive that. So,
She just keeps paying her regular rate
The
that she's
regular
used to
rate,
paying,
just
right.
like
and we forgive whatever's
for the delta there,
Right.
if there is one.
extra.
Sure. Is there a way to add on and make a loop out of that dead end and
It'd be a
sneak
little
across
hard, 'cause
somebody's property
Isn't there-
to go someplace else?
Farmer field there or something?
You'd have to go through somebody's yard,
Or yard, yeah.
yeah,
That's
somebody's,
what it is.
you'd have to get easements, and
Yeah,
then you'd have to
sometimes.
take it across the road the other side of,
Oh, so
41.
this is that would be
Yeah,
a
this is a
real
big deal.
nightmare.
But that year that froze, I think that was the first year it ever froze up there, cause.
Ever. Like I said, I was on the street at least 40 years before that ever happened. It was like really a freak thing.
Cause that year was,
God, you hate
I mean, that was a winter from hell.
hope for snow.
Yeah, well, this one hasn't been much better,
No,
Buzz.
no,
It's
but-
been, you know,
What does the snow act as insulation?
Yes.
essentially?
Yeah.
Yeah, saves
Yeah.
your plants, everything. Yeah, I love snow in the winter, if you're
Right.
gonna have it.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing, they keep the roads a lot cleaner than they used to. and
Yeah, that new
solid
plow
better
just,
and pushes it down further.
yeah.
But, yeah, like I say, we had people's lines that froze, and they says, I've been here 40 years, my water lines never froze that year.
Right,
But every township was having problems that year.
right.
Well, I like your solution, you know, I'll go with that.
I'm on board.
Ha ha ha!
Kevin.
You don't have to make the go ahead, Ed, you make the motion.
I'll make the motion that we, keep her bill the same and averages out. And if there is a delta after the next water bill, we'll take care of it.
Just put a note in when you, or
Make the
if you
payment.
bring the payment to, and talk to Kristen and let her know.
Okay.
I'll second it.
You gonna second?
Yeah.
Discussion?
We just need to make sure that Kristen's aware of this, and we don't wanna lose track on this for the next month.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, well, we didn't vote yet. So that's the discussion. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
I parked in the back of the building. It would have been nice if I could have gotten in that way, but, I'll walk around.
You can walk out.
You can go out that
I
way.
can go out that way, okay.
You better be
because-
able to.
Okay,
It's an
Alright.
exit, better be open.
yeah, okay.
Okay. We're still on privilege of the
Yeah.
floor.
Olson,
Elaine?
O-L-S-O-N. Yes,
Did you the one that had the leak in 2015?
the leak,
Did you have a broken water?
I did not have any broken water pipes, no. Just frozen pipelines that us last three houses on Brentwood had, because
Okay.
we're at the dead end.
I see why you're looking, because, yeah, that 48,000, that one
Yeah,
in, June of
2015.
2015.
Is there such a thing like a pump or something that could kinda cycle the water? Cause you can do that in your house to keep your toilets, when they get, leaking and add water and it just keeps cycling around. I'm wondering,
There's a flushing
is
system.
that something that wouldn't cost us a fortune? It may solve this problem?
That's something I can check into, but the biggest thing, it has to drain someplace. You don't want it draining the road, so you'd have to run it through somebody's
Oh, it has to
property.
drain, I didn't know, cause it was all, it'd be clean water, so it wouldn't hurt to move it back somehow.
No, like say we could run it behind your house or something like that and let it flush. It goes on somebody else's property after that, cause there's settlement there. But
Right,
You mean it would just kinda do a purge every now and then,
it
just
should,
to
yeah,
keep
it
it
purges
moving?
every so often, it kicks on to keep the water flowing, that keeps it from freezing.
well, I have the pump station in back of my house anyway, now, so.
And would that be less than the $75 that she quote unquote may or may not pay?
To hook something up like that?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Oh,
they're-
that'd be a lot
those
more
units are expensive, very expensive.
Alright, so after 40 years, I think we go with what we got. I hope
Thank
it
you.
doesn't freeze.
You're welcome.
Well, that's something I check into, because
I
a
don't
lot of places, especially at the dead end, is, they use it to keep the chlorine up.
Oh, okay.
Because the draw's not that much, and keeps the water charged up a little bit to keep it.
Maybe it's a safety thing. Get some grant money or something.
All right, privilege of the floor is still going on, and so we do have 7 people watching on YouTube right now, so if anybody has a question, you can post it in the chat, or as a comment, we'll answer it, if you,
Gentlemen, is there a light out here?
Buzz will help you.
Okay.
Full service water department. All right.
I think you're the reason I keep going offline. 'Cause I keep watching it. Using
I just have to make sure that we're here, it's, transparency is critical.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I understand, the county ledge isn't having as much luck as we are, because you can see them, but you can't hear them.
I
wanna make
heard
sure
that,
that you
yeah.
can hear us.
We could look, they can resolve it. I'll let them figure it out. But,
They have a little larger budget than us.
yeah.
Do we have anything else for privilege of the floor?
All right.
Let's-
Any old business? No. New business, approval of the volunteer firefighter applications.
I've looked them over and I think these guys are great.
I do too.
Yep. All right, can I get a motion?
I'll do that. Make a motion
Second.
to accept those two new recruits.
Second. Or did you already say?
Tim seconded. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. And the Newton Waterworks and Water Bill discussion we already did. Dante, do you have anything for us?
Do you wanna talk about the church now or the executive?
Executive.
Then I got
All right. Board members, any
I
comments?
just have one question. I used to have this information on the top of my head, but who would have this information? Kristen or Don or maybe Dan? Or for the first few units that's using, there's a certain rate.
Uh-huh.
Who has that?
Well, Buzz knows and then Kristen knows too. She has it. And that's for water and sewer, and we're actually looking at changing the way sewer is billed. Which is, right now the hookup fee is a flat fee. We're looking at lowering that and then increasing the usage charge. So what that does is if you're a single person that uses very little water and sewer, you're paying a lot more than you should be. This way it would be based entirely on usage. So people like that would save quite a bit of money, and those tend to be the people that are on fixed incomes as well. And then everything else is truly just based on usage, which is what it should be.
Asking me just that question the other day.
So, Bruce from, the city, is, the treatment plant is helping us. He's a Homer Village resident, and he's gonna do an analysis and run through and come up with some, pricing models that we can look at. And then we can run different scenarios and see, and come up with one that is the most fair. And that would be most beneficial to our lower income residents. Should always be based on usage, that's the only fair way.
I agree.
Alright. Any other comments by board members?
I have a couple. One, I'd like to thank everybody for Winterfest. It was a wonderful time, and I'm pretty sure that the Devin didn't throw it to make sure you got into the final
I
three.
don't, I think those guys let me. Come on, those young guys.
But to everybody who contributed to Winterfest, I want to say thank you. It was not enough snow, but it was a great time.
But not many guys or competitors come with their own gloves and their own goggles.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's true.
You did the village well.
And then the other thing, I just want to, as we're getting some of the pictures for our past mayors organized, we are missing two. We are missing our current mayor and we are missing our former mayor. So I'd like to make a motion that we authorize up to $150 combined for those two to get their portraits taken, and so we can put it up on the wall when we get the rest of them done.
If I just take a selfie, will you give me $75?
We put it on high quality, acid-free, historic paper.
No.
No, it sounds expensive.
Up to, not to exceed.
Got it.
Sure, I'll second that. History's important, that's half of what this village is.
And part of it is that will allow them to, at your convenience, go to somebody and make the appointment, get it done, and
Give me time to get a haircut and my beard trimmed a little bit.
Only if you want to.
Nah, well, a little bit. I didn't say.
A skosh.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in trouble already in the St. Baldrick's thing. Didn't know I was opening a can of worms here.
Yeah.
You are.
so we got a motion, we got a second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
$50 to it.
Let's see.
So I started growing it next week.
Oh, I got.
All you got? Zach has.
I don't know when the appropriate time is, but we need to talk about our insurance policy for recreation. Ski Club was the only program this year that had medical coverage.
The rec participants aren't covered under a blanket through the municipality?
They are, but the medical coverage was something we paid for extra. We've done it in years past. This year we did it. It came out to $1,500 or so.
Okay.
Why we have it for a ski club and not something like football is a question to be asked, I guess. I don't know what everything covers in our umbrella policy. I don't know what the medical truly covers, so I think we need to have somebody come in and explain that to us.
We'll have to meet with Bailey Place.
Right.
So you can reach out to them, right,
Sure,
and
yeah.
ask them that
Yeah.
question first.
Yeah.
And then let us
Tanya's
know.
the contact.
Tanya?
Yeah, she's pretty responsive, or has been at least for me.
For the rec program. that
Tim
you
can
run.
follow up on that, will ya? 'Cause he's the rec guy.
Yes, sir. I will help any way you need.
Yep.
Anything else?
And I'll back him up.
Sir.
Nothing? Lost my agenda. Here we go.
Exec session.
Okay, so I would like a motion for us to adjourn to executive session to discuss some personnel matters and some real estate matters.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody.